Today on Gassin, we have my guest, Ardy Danielewicz. I had to be careful how I said that. Was that?
Perfect.
Yeah, he's happy. From dragNdrop. I've known Ardy for a good amount of time now. We've worked together on a number of my own products. And today he's here to talk about his new business, dragNdrop. So without further ado, can you tell us a little bit about what dragNdrop is and why you started it in the first place?
Sure. Hello.
Hello.
Good to see you, Mark.
Thank you.
So dragNdrop is a design tool to help ambitious entrepreneurs essentially create their own marketing for themselves. And it essentially came about for various reasons. But to do that, let's go back a little bit, and I'll tell you about how I got to where I am today. So I joined advertising out of university, and the reason I joined advertising was kind of random in the end. In that I was studying economics at the time, and this was 2011, 2012, and a lot of my friends around me were applying to graduate training programs and getting internships and this sort of thing. And I remember coming down to into our student house, into the lounge, and I was hanging out with a few mates, and they were all doing their applications to Citibank and the Big Four and all these consultancy firms. And one of them turns to me and says, Ardy, where are you applying next year? Have you got a job lined up yet? And I just froze, and I started feeling, palms were a bit sweaty. And I was like, shit, I haven't really thought about any of this stuff. And they were like, where are you applying to? Have you got any applications in yet? And then the only thing I could think about was what I was just been watching on upstairs. I'd just been watching an episode of Mad Men at the time. And then for some reason I just thought, I'm just applying to advertising agencies at the moment. They were like, oh, that sounds brilliant. Yeah, that'd be great. Then anyway, slightly sheepishly, I kind of ran up to my my room and just Googled advertising agency London. The first one that came up was M&C Saatchi, and I just applied to it and ended up getting on the graduate training program and worked there for over a decade. And anyway, that was 2012. Fast forward to 2015, I set up a business called Accelerator with the support and help of the M&C Saatchi group. And that really was a business focused on taking all of the greatness of a company like M&C Saatchi, high quality creativity, strategic development, data and insight, production, and boiling it down and offering it up to startup and scale up businesses. Because at the time in 2015, there was a lot of venture capital money. There was a lot of the startup scene in London was growing and scaling. And a lot of these startup and scale-ups had secured decent funding, but nowhere near the sort of level of funding that they would need to access a business like M&C Saatchi. So me and my business partner, Richard, we set up Accelerator to focus on helping those startup and scale-up businesses achieve the growth and scale that they needed to take them to the next level.
Amazing. Could you just tell us a few of those businesses and some of the fun projects that you worked on?
Totally. So, we, for example, to contextualize it, we work with a business called Gorillas, who are now, who subsequently got acquired by Getir for something like $1.2 billion, I think it was. And we launched them in the UK and Europe. We've also worked with the likes of HelloFresh, GoDaddy. We launched businesses like Zen Auto, as well as lots in the kind of financial and insurance technology business. Yeah,
so I mean, startups, but it's quite high level. I mean, we talk about like perhaps not massively funded, but these are big tech startups. These are like
they're scaling, exactly. Yeah. These are scale ups, and typically what we typically find is that businesses come into us. They've achieved a certain level of success and growth in performance only media, and they are looking to ramp up their activity by looking at the entire marketing funnel and doing some activity that's slightly further up the funnel in order to raise the profile of their business and to scale it and grow it.
A little bit of Ardy magic.
Exactly.
I like to call it.
Exactly.
Okay, so that was 2015.
That was 2015. So we've now run that business for 7 or so years. We've done 250 different projects now with various startup and scale-ups. And in 2020, I think it was, 2020, we disrupted a business model in 2015. We disrupted a traditional agency model, and we thought, okay, how can we how can we offer what we're doing, but offer it to a new audience? That was 2015.
Yeah.
2020, we took a long, hard think at ourselves and thought, okay, how can we do what we've done over the last 5 years and further disrupt our own industry? And we were looking at the market, and we were looking at different business models, and we eventually stumbled upon the design tool world, the software as a service design tool world. And at the time, there was a big player in the category, Canva.
And still is a big player.
And still is is an even bigger player in the category now. And they were the Australian startup. And they were largely they were global at the time, but they had very little awareness and activity in the UK market and the European market at the time. And we thought, look, there's got to be opportunity to create a design tool that comes at it from the other end. Because the interesting thing about Canva is they started as a yearbook business. They started as a college yearbook business where you'd go onto it, you put your own photos and little stories of people in your college, and you'd then post it and you'd build it out.
Yeah, and they're also kind of like a design your own Christmas card.
Exactly.
Kind of, it's not, while it can be used professionally, it's kind of almost sort of non-professional type thing as well. If you watching and you don't know Canva, look it up, because it's important in the context of this conversation. But obviously we're all here about drag-and-drop, but we'll come on to that.
So Canva has come out of a tech scene. It's a tech product that is democratizing creativity, but it's a technology play and it's a technology product. It does brilliant things, but we really believe that there's an opportunity in the market to come at it from the other side, which is from the creative side. And our background and our expertise is in creativity and scaling businesses. And as you say, the one of the main challenges with Canva is it's very mainstream. You can go on there. It's a bit like Moonpig, if you like, but it's for design. So you can go on there. You can do a church poster. You can create a dog poo thing for your local garden or park. You can make a wedding invite on it.
Yeah.
But then you can make your own brand in it. And a lot of the feedback that we've had from our customers and from our network is that they need something that's slightly more professionalized and slightly more high end. And so we set about creating drag-and-drop. And drag-and-drop is a high-end design tool that is democratizing creativity, but coming at it from the creative industry, and is utilizing all the industry expertise and knowledge we have, and making that accessible and open to ambitious entrepreneurs like yourself, Marcus.
And from the little that I know about drag-and-drop, but what I've seen so far, because obviously it's very much a work in progress, because I got to see sort of the beta side when there were still various bugs and things in it. The big difference about what you're doing is that, if I get this correctly, is that the entrepreneur puts their brand assets in. So you're not necessarily saying come and we'll do your logo. What you're saying is, if you've got your assets, your colors, your logo, your slogans, you put it all in to the sort of the back end, if you will, into a bank, and then you have created a world of sexy, very nice kind of templates for them to use. For example, business card, for example, social headers for Facebook, whatever it might be, and sort of almost giving them, I would say probably smaller startups, access to the kind of quality and standards that they might otherwise have to pay for, but wouldn't have the budget. So it's kind of, is that roughly where?
That's exactly it. And the way I like to think about it is, irrespective of the tools you have, you still have to make a choice, right? And if you compare us to Canva is design overload. You go onto it, and there's millions and millions of images, millions of templates, hundreds of thousands of different typefaces, unlimited colors. And the question you ask yourself then is, well, I'm brilliant at selling gas, as is the case for you, Marcus. You're less brilliant at choosing what your color palette should be and what's a good photo, and how you should write on a piece of communication.
He's correct about that.
So what we're trying to do is remove that design overload and move to a place of design curation. where there is fewer higher quality items on the platform that you can then access and choose, and we have done the difficult bit. So it's not about hundreds of thousands of typefaces. It's about saying this typeface goes with this typeface, this color goes with this color, this picture is a higher quality picture than this picture.
Yep.
And why? You might ask us why? Why bother? Like, just give everyone everything, surely. And the answer of why is that quantity is not always the best thing to do. And ultimately, we're living in an attention economy, right? Like, it's the single biggest commodity of the 21st century is attention. And we have to help customers navigate through that attention. The game is like, how do you get more attention for your brand? And just by putting any old shit out there, that's just gonna be more clutter in the sea of other people's advertising. And the game of advertising is basically getting attention. So when everyone else is going one way, you've got to go the other way. And if you're putting the same old shit out there, you're not gonna notice any fundamental difference for your business.
Yeah.
And that is the service that we have been offering our clients for the last 8 or so years, which is basically, if you're a scale up, you've got budget X and you've got ambition Y, and there's a gap between those two things. And that's what we call the attention gap. And if you can say something a little bit more interesting, or if you can look a little bit more interesting, or if you can design your way a little bit more interesting, you just start to narrow that gap down. You start to cheat your way into achieving unfair advantage, essentially. And I think that's the main difference of us versus dragNdrop versus Canva, is that we are focused on helping our customers drive attention and narrow that gap down so they can scale and grow their business.
So let me ask you a question then. You're focused on helping all these customers. How are you planning to help yourselves, i.e. do the same thing for your business? Because you're a startup like anyone else. So that kind of that question, but also I'm interested to understand why did you decide to sort of start a business, I suppose, because you have a very healthy income, you've got a good job, very successful at it. A lot of people, when people like me, I guess, they don't have they start a business because they want to build a future for themselves or whatever. But I often think, and I hear about people that are in very good jobs, and then I'm not saying you've walked away from that altogether, but they go off and they take this high risk. Why have you chosen to do that? Apart from that, you're passionate about this particular idea, or was it the passion about that, or was it because you wanted to do the entrepreneur thing? Or
ultimately, obviously, we did an entrepreneur initiative in 2015, and set up Accelerator. And there's a limit to how much impact you can have as a service business or as an agency, because there's a limitation to my time. And there's only so many businesses that we can work with in any given year.
So you're kind of capped as to where you can get to. Yeah,
exactly.
Sure.
So for me, it's much more about, I want to scale the impact that I have on business exponentially. And you can only do that by taking what we do, i.e. attention generation, if you like, or attention grabbing services, and creating some sort of automated process behind that, namely creating a series of templates and creating a design tool that allows businesses to amend those templates and customize them and put them out there. So I think it's about, for me, it's about generating more impact for more clients, essentially.
And I've got to tell you, I was quite surprised at how cheap it was, because I had assumed it would be more expensive because it's kind of like a high-end model. So presumably you've done the work for that and decided we need to get X many users by here and
exactly.
Whatever. So talk to us a bit about that.
So that's interesting. So unfortunately, we're living in a pretty tricky economy at the moment. Interest rates are really high, impending recession, or in the processes of a recession. And I think the whole finance and investment model now is a much more difficult place to be raising finance in.
Yeah, it's much harder.
And there's much more scrutiny on paying users versus just active users.
Yeah.
And so, and one of our financial advisors essentially said to us, look, you need to get to the figure that everyone needs to work back to at Series A. So at the moment, let's just take a step back. At the moment, we are in our seed and seed plus kind of round. So we've so far raised about £2 million.
Yeah.
And that £2 million has been spent on product development and marketing. We're currently going through a sort of late seed raise, and we're raising between 500 and a further £1 million just to further develop the product and focus on the customer acquisition. But that all leads to the point where we need to get to a place where we have secured about 10,000 customers paying about £10 a month, and that gets to those numbers get you to a place where you have about £1 million annual recurring revenue.
Yeah.
And at that point, you can then go and secure some Series A financing, which is in the region of 5 to 10 million, and that's when you take your business to the next level. So working back from that figure, you then go, okay, well, if I need to get £1 million annual recurring revenue, you then go, okay, well, what's a sensible kind of pricing model based on all the norms in the market?
Yeah. And
if you look at the market, currently customers are paying anywhere between £5 and £20 a month for design tools and content creation tools. And we want to make it accessible. We want our customers to feel like they're getting a high-end designer for a monthly fee. And if you look at it comparatively to how much they would pay for a high-end designer, a high-end designer typically costs anywhere between £350 and £500 a day. So
I was so surprised how it's $9.99 a month to sign up to. It's dragNdrop.ai, isn't it?
.ai. We've also got the .com.
There you go. Have a look. It boggles my mind a little bit that it's the price that it is. But do you think it's a price that you'll stay at, or do you think that once people realise it's high quality, you feel they should pay a bit more for it? Because I'll give you an example. My younger brother started a business called Charlie HR, and I hope I'm getting this correct, but I remember he was like, it's free for life, and that was the kind of whole way he went about it. And they realised a couple of years into the business that it just simply wasn't sustainable for them to offer it for free anymore. So they had to kind of go back on their word, and they sent my brother sent an email out, and I remember he told me it was quite hard for him at the time to sort of say, look, unfortunately this is the gig, we now need to charge our customers. And I think they retained like 70% or something extraordinary of those guys. So yeah, do you think that will remain the same?
I think ultimately, I think when you're running a startup or scale up business, you need to remain flexible to everything and open to everything. Yeah. And really, everything is an experimentation process.
Sure.
So even the brand name, everything from the brand name, the brand, the product itself, the customers, the price, the marketing, the finance model, the investment model, all of these things, the business plan, all of these things are hypotheses, and you have a hypothesis for each of these things.
Yeah.
And you kind of go, this is what we broadly think based on the data and insight we have into this market and all of the kind of norms and benchmarks that we have. But then you just do a little test. You go, okay, we're going to put this out there and see what happens. We're going to do this and see what happens. And ultimately, you've then got to test, learn, and optimize based on putting it out there and kind of go, okay, well, does this work? Does this feel sensible? At the moment, $9.99 a month feels sensible. We're getting good responses from our customers in terms of that, exactly for that reason. And at the moment, we're also focused on providing value for our customers. If we can provide value, and if we can generate some interest and value for our customers, then that is a compelling story to then go to investors and say, okay, we need a bit more cash now. We need to build the following 5 things. And we need to then go and get some more customers and then test those hypotheses. So really, for me, it's about taking the data and insight that we have into something and kind of going, let's test that, and then let's change or act accordingly. And the same thing is, has been said for the name as well. So we weren't always called dragNdrop. Back in 2020, we were called Grow.
You were.
And that was a sort of working title name. And just to go back a little bit, where we started was 2020. We had a hypothesis, which was there is a growing market of self-serve, software as a service design tools. We would like to experiment within that space. And we put a pitch and a business plan together, and we took it to our previous investor, M&C Saatchi, the advertising network. And we said, look, we have a hypothesis here. It is that there is a growing market in self-serve design tools. We need X amount of cash to go and build a little working prototype and test it with a few customers. After a few months of discussion, they, and in conjunction with the board and the CEO and CFO, they committed to a proportion of cash, and we went away and built that prototype and built that kind of initial.
Can I ask you then, because obviously you're from a design marketing background, but you're not from a tech background. I know that you've worked with a lot of tech businesses. How did you know? Did you like how much money you were going to need to create this thing, and how did you learn how to build out a platform like this? Because it's not like with me where, you know, I went on Shopify and sort of self-taught a little bit and then started bringing in other people to help me that I kind of find along the way. But I mean, you're building essentially a piece of online cloud-based software. Where do you even start with that sort of thing? Did you know some people, or did you have to just literally go on the internet and try and figure it out?
No, look, it's a good question. I think ultimately, business and the commercial world is all about problem solving. Yeah. I think we sat there with a thought or a hypothesis, as I said, but we had a load of problems, which is, as you say, like, how do you get investment? How do you even build a technology platform? As you say, I'm a advertising person. I don't know anything about technology. I think the only way of solving those problems, and my only talent is speaking to people and solving problems with other people. So I'm lucky enough to have built up a group of people around me through our business accelerator, and we meet a lot of different interesting people every day in all sorts of backgrounds, as you say, in technology, in design, in finance, in HR, in people, you know, all these sorts of areas. And I just started ringing people up, and I was just like, look, how do you do this? I don't know anything about technology. I rang up a mate that runs a veterinary startup, and I said, you know, how much does this stuff even cost? Yeah. And then we sat down over a coffee and just sort of sketched it out, and we're like, okay, that sounds, again, another hypothesis. We're like, okay, that sounds sort of right. Like, we probably need X amount of cash to get going to build something. Let's go and pitch that.
So it's really important, I think, at this point, what Ardy's saying is, like, nobody really knows what they're doing when they start these businesses, and despite what you might think, you know, it really is kind of like a test, and you're going out there and you're just trying to work it all out as best as you can. So if that's you and you're thinking about doing this, then panic not, because I think it's fair to say that when we start these things, we haven't got a clue, and we really are starting kind of from scratch. We have to go out and do exactly what you were just talking about.
Totally. And it's also, it's totally fine to be wrong about stuff.
Yeah.
And like, there's been so many times where we've been wrong about things.
So tell us about a few of those.
Let's have a think.
Well, I mean, so presumably, well, one was you've changed the name, so there must have been like a moment there where you thought, actually, this other thing works better for us here, or I'm sure there must have been, I'm guessing there were points in the design process or the creation of the website where you weren't getting what you wanted, for example, or that kind of thing, or where you changed direction because you thought, actually, that's not interesting for, I mean, like, for example, I remember when I tested out the beta or whatever, and I said to you, I was like, I get it, but it doesn't quite work because I'm dragging my logo in and it's coming out pink when it should be red, or whatever it was. So was there quite a stressful period? Because I'd imagine when you're trying to build something, you know, I don't want it like that, I want it like this, and perhaps they're not listening or they're not understanding.
Totally. I mean, I think the most difficult thing that we have grappled with is developing prioritization of development, I would say, and that is the most difficult thing. And the friend of mine that originally advised me on the cost and the investment required based on his experience as a veterinary tech entrepreneur,
it wasn't enough.
Well, exactly. Then it's never enough.
Never is it?
That there is, what you have to grapple with is a constant and never-ending to-do list of technology wants and needs, and that looks like a backlog, and that's just a sort of standard industry term of like all the shit that you basically have got to work through.
Yeah.
And that backlog is ever growing. So you have a conversation with someone, you go, and you speak to a customer, they're like, what do you want? And then they say, okay, well, I want the following 5 things. And you go, okay, right, add those to the backlog. And then you then go onto the platform and you've developed a couple of new products within it, or tools, and then suddenly 10 new problems are generated because you've put one thing onto the platform that's new, and it generates a problem over here, even though you've put something on over here. So I think it's that constant management of going, right, we've got this never-ending list of to-dos, and we've got a really small amount of investment that we need to allocate to those to-dos.
Yeah.
And the question is then over prioritization, and it's like, how do you match those two things together when they clearly just don't fit together?
Yeah.
So that's been a very difficult process of going through, and I think the only question that we come back to is how can we best get attention for our customers? How can they get attention for themselves, essentially? And if the tools that we're creating are helpful for generating attention for our customers, we overemphasize on building those tools and those products. If they are less helpful, but they might seem really jazzy and interesting, but if they're less helpful for getting attention, let's just scratch them off the list and not do them in the short term anyway.
So do you think it's going to be a constant work in progress for this?
Constant adaptation
and
learning.
To what extent is the business ready? Is it kind of ready? Will it never be fully ready because it'll always be changing? Like where is it today?
I don't think any business or product is ever ready and finished and done, right? Nothing out there is perfect and remains perfect forever. And, I came up here today and saw a billboard for the new iPhone. It looked the same as every other billboard for an iPhone over the last decade. But it's just incrementally changing over time, and I guess everyone's sort of lost track of where we are with the iPhone now anyway. But nothing is perfect, and there's constantly this adaptation process. But we are in the process of pre-launch currently, so we're working with a small group of customers who are testing our product and helping us optimize it, and we're building new features into it. But very soon, come Q1, we'll be in a position where we will be fully live and fully working in terms of the product, and the product will be freely consumable to anyone out there. And at that point, we then will focus on marketing to scale and grow the business. So
as you're the marketing guy, I'm interested to know, what are your priorities for marketing? Where are you going to start?
So the start point really for us was the name, right? We were previously, the working internal title was Grow, because the idea was that, as we talked about the attention economy, our job as marketeers is to grow businesses and scale businesses. Working title was Grow, not particularly interesting. It's just one word, not particularly differentiated. And to come back to the attention point, like, how are we going to generate attention for our own business?
Yeah.
And clearly a word like Grow is not attention grabbing or interesting in any way. So we took a long, hard think, and there was this idea of drag and drop was always in my mind, even back in the Grow days. I thought there's this incredible phrase, drag and drop, right? And like everyone knows that phrase. It's a globally recognized term that is synonymous with being easy to use. So if something's drag and drop, it's supposed to be like very easy.
Put it in this file here.
It's as easy as drag and drop, right?
Yeah.
Like everyone knows it, and it's a term that's like widely used in globally and in business and in technology.
Yep.
I always just thought it was mental that like no one had created a brand around that phrase
until now.
So we've trademarked that. So we've trademarked drag and drop and dragndrop.com, dragndrop.ai, and we've trademarked that in the UK, Europe, and the US.
So was dragndrop.com, was that available, or did you have to?
And that was available. We bought it. Yeah, we got it. We did a deal on it, and we had to broker it off.
Oh, I see. So it was owned by somebody.
It was held, and like we do a lot of work in domains. We worked with GoDaddy previously.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of smart people out there who basically just, look on the internet essentially and are just like buying up search terms and interesting phrases and words and essentially owning them, and then basically wait for someone like me to come along and then go, right, we now want 100 grand for it. Obviously, we're not going to pay 100 grand for it. Then you do a deal on it.
Yeah.
But look, we've secured that. So for us, the start point for building a brand is creating some virgin territory and zigging when everyone else is zagging, or vice versa. And clearly, in this category, we have now managed to own a very widely available phrase, which is drag and drop.
Yeah.
And our core marketing is focused on making that phrase drag and drop famous. But what's clever in our view is we have weaponized an existing phrase.
Yeah.
So suddenly, every time everyone says, oh, because we see it on our competitors, you go onto GoDaddy or Squarespace and they say drag and drop your brand assets into Squarespace. So suddenly we're starting to weaponize everyone else's communication and marketing.
And remember, Squarespace, it's trademark now, so don't you dare. What?
Exactly.
I think that's very clever. I hadn't quite thought about that, but the one thing I had thought was I'll remember it, which with Grow I probably hadn't, but when I saw that it had changed, because again, like you say, it's something that people talk about and do. So that's a clever way of going about it. Okay, but I mean, are you planning on to push it out digitally through advertising, Facebook, LinkedIn? Have you got that far? And who will handle that? Would you handle that? And how many people are working on this now on a sort of day-to-day, weekly basis?
So in terms of that go-to-market strategy, we've got two or three different channels and routes to market. The first of which is, traditional kind of advertising communication. So we'll work with the Meta suite, so Facebook, Instagram, and we'll run performance marketing campaigns. And we've already started running performance marketing campaigns across the UK and the US. And we are just doing early testing in those at the moment, working out our CPA and working out, who our customer base is and that sort of stuff. I mean, you've done all that.
Yeah, you've just raised an interesting point actually that I hadn't thought about, which is obviously because your business is fully digital and it's not a physical thing, you can launch it worldwide, right?
Totally.
So you've immediately got access to the whole of the USA, which is, I mean, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's great to kind of go, right, you can just, it's as easy as going on the Meta suite and going, right, I'm going to add markets, UK plus US.
Yeah.
Click.
Wow. So that's quite exciting that you can grow a global business, because with my businesses, they've always been selling something physical. So I've been very tied to where I can have that product and get it out to people, which has traditionally been UK and a little bit of Europe. But to be able, you might find that your biggest market is in Germany or like wherever. Yeah. So yeah, that's exciting for getting lots and lots of users.
Definitely. And it comes down to that thing of our target audience is ambitious entrepreneurs, and we are now globally, entrepreneurialism and side hustles and small businesses are on the rise. Everyone wants to be a business owner. No one wants to work for someone. Everyone wants to kind of do their own thing and be independent, and we want to tap into that. We want to raise up all of those small businesses, and we want to help them. And the cynic, by the way, will say we are ruining the design and the advertising industry. And my wife is a very, very good graphic designer, but we don't see it that way. She doesn't see it that way. We see it as we are helping a bunch of small businesses that wouldn't have access to a global agency or a really high quality, talented designer. This is about taking the principles that we know and distilling them down and giving them access to high quality tools that allow them to better run their business, essentially.
But I think as well, every industry has to accept that the sort of digital revolution is coming, and they're going to be attacked, for want of a better word, sort of by that. There'll always be a space for, I don't know, if you're Barclays Bank and you want to do a rebrand, you're not coming on your website or going on Canva and drawing it yourself. You're going to go to a big design company.
The same thing happened with web platforms like Squarespace, GoDaddy, Wix. This didn't put people that build websites out of business. It just meant that everyone else that couldn't afford web designers suddenly had better looking websites.
Yeah, I mean, if you're now building a very complex website, probably like you are. I assume you're not hosting it on Shopify and building it from that. Maybe you are. Yeah. So, I mean, I remember the first business I ever started, and I went to two friends I knew in Guildford at the time, and they helped us build our website. And I think we paid what felt like a lot of money. I think it was about £3,000 or something. This is in like 2002 or something. And now it's incredible that you can go and sort of DIY yourself. But even, you know, I built both my websites, but I've had to get at various points external help and development within that process anyway. So it could even be a case of people are using drag-and-drop, but then, well, you tell me, maybe they're also finding you know, an Ardy type character that kind of oversees that a little bit, or perhaps they've got somebody in their business, in their startup, that's good at marketing or that side of things, and so it's kind of like that the two can be sort of coexist together.
Yeah, what we tend to find businesses are either marketing-led businesses or not marketing-led businesses. Almost like marketing is either the top priority, and it's the most important thing, and everything else is secondary, or the business is run by people who've got expertise in finance or product or whatever their industry expertise, and marketing is a real struggle for them. And you know, I always remember you said to me, "Look, Ardy, I'm brilliant at selling nuts and selling gas.
I've never claimed to be brilliant.
I'm less good at, you know, doing the marketing. Like, help me with that. How do I do that?"
It's just terrible. It's not my bag, baby.
But the thing
really not
to people like me, it's like, it's actually, I always say, it's literally just words and pictures. It's words and pictures and squares and rectangles. That's all it terrifies
me. It terrifies me. I came to Ardy with my name for CO2. I told him I was going to call it Fizzy Banter. He said, "Meet me tomorrow immediately. You cannot call it Fizzy Banter," and very kindly helped me to come up with a more suitable name. But
yeah, I'm still waiting for my 10% of the business.
Yeah, I know.
I haven't received the paperwork.
Terrible. Terrible, really. But you are skilled where you are skilled, and you are not skilled where you are not skilled.
And you've got to know where the gaps are, right? And then you just go in, like we were saying, you've got to then go and find people around you and chat to people and solve those problems with them and help, like, ask for help.
That's really important. I think the point that you're making, you cannot be proud. You've got to go out and talk to anybody that you know, any contacts. It doesn't necessarily mean that what they say is always correct, but you've got to milk every contact you possibly can for as much information as possible.
Generally, I think people are really open to helping as well. Like, you know, if you're humble enough to go and ask for someone's advice, generally people will give you their view, give you their honest opinion, and will help you get to the desired result. And then the beauty of it is then they'll, you know, the opposite happens, and you then feel incentivized to help them and offer them the services in the same way that, you know, we have this great relationship now where, you know, you help me with a lot of e-commerce and kind of business and commercial things, and I help you on the marketing and the brand and the attention side. And it feels like that very it feels like a really good balance. There's a sort of shared value exchange. Yeah,
I think it's hugely important, particularly if you're on your own starting a business, that you know that you build a network of people around you.
Oh yeah, by the way, I would also say, and I've said this to you, I think one of the best things that I have is a business partner.
Yeah.
And you don't have that.
Yeah.
And I think that is the advice. If anyone ever asks me, like, what should I do, like, as an entrepreneur, I always say, try and find someone that you could have as your business partner, because I do think it's like, it is the best thing, because you'll have more shit days than you have good days.
Of course,
and being able to then, I think having a business partner means you can laugh and, like, you can gang up on if someone's, like, basically crucified your idea in a pitch meeting. You can then kind of come out of it and laugh and be like, they were the idiot. They didn't see it the way we saw it.
It's pretty demoralizing if you're coming out on your own and then you have nobody who really understands, because nobody else can possibly understand your business unless they are either your business partner or you have a very senior level employee that works with you in a very close space.
But then, you know, you then start to question yourself. Then I really think you'd start to question yourself, and it takes so much. I have so much respect for solo founders, because it takes so much determination to continue unwaveringly towards your goal. Like, as you say, you don't want to take everyone's feedback on board. Everyone's going to give you, every time you walk into a conversation, someone's always going to tell you what to do and give you their advice on it. And as I said, there's the never-ending to-do list. And if you keep adding everyone's piece of advice into that, you're never going to leave your office, because you're going to have so much stuff to get through. Whereas I think having a discussion with your business partner and just being like, is this any good? Was this thought good? Or what's your perspective on this thought? And you kind of like, okay, we can reject that really quickly. Oh no, that's a brilliant idea. Let's add that in. I think just having that open and honest discussion is super important, and it just allows you to. It just means you have a team immediately, and it means on the good days are better, but on the bad days, you've got someone to laugh at the terrible meeting you had, and we've had fucking loads of terrible meetings. And actually, the business partner I have currently with dragNdrop is the same individual that we worked with originally in 2015 and set up Accelerator. So we've now got 8 or so years of working together, and we know each other so well.
Get on well, and you don't have those issues. Because I think for someone who's just starting a business and then thinks, I'm really good at sales, but I'm rubbish at marketing, so I need to go and find a marketing person. They find someone they don't know that well who likes the idea, and then they go into business together, and then they discover that, the synergy is not there for whatever reason. So while I agree with what you say to some extent, I think it can be a total disaster.
Totally.
You can end up falling out, and that can ultimately ruin the business. So it depends. There's a lot of people solo founders that I've seen, and a lot of them say, people go, what's your advice for starting a business? And they go, don't start it on your own. A lot of people say that, and I get it. For me, I wanted to do it by myself, so that's what I did. But like you say, there have been some moments where I really doubted myself. I just thought, like, what am I doing? I think I look a bit silly here. And it's, like you say, you're talking to a lot of people, and sometimes people don't give you the best feedback, or they really question what you're doing. And that can be really hard. So to have somebody with you that then you walk out and get a coffee and go, don't worry about old mate, he's barking up the wrong tree. But when it's just you, you're like, huh!
Exactly, because not everyone's right.
Of course.
And also, it's fine if they are right, but you might be doing something that's coming at it from a different angle, and they might not have seen that, or they may have misunderstood something.
And maybe you had a bad day, or whatever.
Yeah.
No, I think that's very relevant. But yeah, for me, I just like to be in control completely. Nah, it's not about that, but I think it's.
How do you deal with investors then, because you like to be in control, but you clearly every business has external stakeholders involved. How do you deal with those stakeholders when you like being totally in control?
Well, not every business does, because in my other business, Husk, I'm 100% owner. I'm personally fortunate with the investors that I brought in for CO2U. They are very happy to be kept updated, keep in the background. They're both finance people, so they're very sort of numbers driven and interested in that kind of thing. But I think I've been quite lucky. They're just extremely supportive and very kind of like, I don't think I've had any conversations with them when they've been like, you need to pull your finger out, or like you need to change what you're doing, or we don't agree with this. I feel kind of very much left alone to get on with what I'm getting on with. But I think if we stopped growing, if we weren't profitable, these sorts of things, I think where you run into issues, or perhaps in the situation where you're in, where because it's so ambitious what you're doing, you probably can't do it without continually going to a Series A, maybe a Series B. I don't know, because I haven't seen how your business model works. But in those situations, then you're kind of given targets, aren't you? And you're like, if you don't hit them, then they're going to say, well, where have you gone wrong? You know what I mean? I haven't had that kind of scrutiny. So at the moment I'm okay, and we're not looking to raise money now or at the moment in the future. If we were, then kind of different story, but we'll see.
No, I do think that's interesting actually, because if you compare our two different businesses, our previous accelerator business, more or less within 6 months made profit, and we had been profitable for 8 or so years.
Yeah.
Never had any issues from the investors. Never questioned it once. Never, if you're constantly bringing money back to the table, everyone's happy.
People can't really say anything to that, can they?
I think with dragNdrop, actually, we're very lucky to have really good investors as well. Our investors trust us, we trust them, and there's a really easy kind of dialogue between us. But going back and getting investment from people and going through that investment process, it is a much more difficult process, because you are having to paint your vision of the future and paint the commercial view of that future and the financial view of that future in the absence of seeing it. That brings with it a certain level of scrutiny, which is good.
Yeah.
That's why it's different to where we were 10 years ago with the investment market, and there's a much more focus on paying customers now and viability of the product and all those things, which is an incredibly good discipline. I mean, it's mad that discipline didn't used to be in the market, or that was a bit loose.
Well, I think it was a time, wasn't it, where for one thing, advertising online was a lot cheaper, and it was all just about acquiring users, right? You've got the kind of classic, which is Uber, which, as I understand it, has never made a profit. In fact, it makes massive losses, but it's got a worldwide share that is just unrivaled, I think, by almost anybody, certainly in the space that they're in. And I think the times are changing now, where people are like, look, we'll put the money in, but if this is just going to be an ongoing loss-making, how's it ever going to get to where it needs to get to situation, then we're less interested. We need someone that can make something for £1 and sell it for 10. Then we're in. Totally. But we're not interested in something you're selling for £1, but it's costing you £10 to acquire somebody. That's the big change.
Well, this is exactly the model of attention that I talk about, which is ultimately it's an attention grabbing game, because everyone's advertising on Facebook and Instagram. The question is, like, how do you make people buy your widget over someone else's widget? They're exactly the same. And then it's a case of, like, are you grabbing my attention in the right way? Are you saying something more interesting? Do you look a bit more interesting than product B? And that's the only game in town. You've just got to make people look, and then you can then start to have a conversation. You can start to educate them about. And
out of interest, I'll ask you, because you might actually know the answer. Everyone's focused on advertising on Facebook, LinkedIn, whatever. Do you still think that traditional forms of advertising, like billboards or posters or buses, do you still think that holds value?
It's unbelievable. And actually, a lot of our clients on the accelerator side are scale-up businesses like, let's say, GoDaddy or Gorillas, and often they have very, very aggressive investors behind them, and they are looking for unreasonable returns, I think is a fair way of saying that. They want you to turn £1 of marketing and turn it into £10 of marketing, essentially. And the beauty of billboards or buses and these sorts of traditional media, as you say, is they instantly buy you trust and credibility, because anyone can advertise on Facebook and Instagram, because you can stick £10 into the platform and you can be live in the US, as we just said. Not everyone can buy a bus or a billboard, and so suddenly, if you start adding those kind of more traditional media into your marketing mix, suddenly it starts to send signals to stakeholders like investors or people in the media.
This is a serious business.
This is a serious business that's on the march, that is doing something. And if you then put an interesting message into it and you start to grab some attention,
which is where Ardy comes in,
that's quite a powerful combination of things.
Yeah.
So I love people are very damning over those traditional media forms, but I almost feel like they've almost had a renaissance now.
And last question. What's the future then for dragNdrop? Where's it going to be 5 years from now?
We will continue to test, learn, optimize. We want to build the world's best design platform for ambitious entrepreneurs. We want to do high-end collaborations. We would love the idea of doing collaborations with some of the best designers and creative agencies in the world, and giving them the opportunity, giving small businesses and ambitious entrepreneurs the opportunity to, for a small monthly fee, access the world's best creative and design talent. So we want to just keep going down on, doubling down on our mission of allowing ambitious entrepreneurs to access the world's best creativity. We'll keep doing that. We'll keep testing it. We'll keep optimizing it along the way, and we'll keep meeting new businesses and helping them scale and grow. But we love it. We love business, setting up businesses, starting businesses, helping them scale and grow, and ultimately it comes down to attention and narrowing that gap between your budget and your ambition.
Yeah.
And if you can do something and say something a little bit more interesting than your competitors, you just stand a bit more of a chance of out-competing them and gaining those unreasonable returns.
Nice. Ardy, thank you very much for coming on.
Marcus,
if
pleasure.
you enjoyed that content, please like and subscribe. We got more guests coming up, more quality guests like this man here, and we'll see you on the next one.